Hey everyone, it's Kelly. I'm back today with a new 12 by 12 scrapbook process video for the Cut to You design team. Today I'm going to be using the rainbow cut file, and I do want to talk a little bit more about this cut file, but I'll do that a little bit later on in the video. I am going to start out today with a super simple and short Cricut design space tutorial. I like to include these anytime I alter the cut file, so that way you can see how I get from point A to point B. So I've already placed the cut file onto the design screen and I've resized it to an 11.5 inches. And now I'm inserting a scrapbook layout template that will just help me when I am sizing everything on my layout. I'm going to go ahead and get the cut file positioned in the center of that template. And this is pretty much how my layout is going to look because the cut file is so large. It's such a big dynamic part of the layout. But I do want to fill in some of the empty space at the top of the layout. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a square and I'm going to position it over a set of these clouds, and I'm just going to line it up. I'm not being super careful about getting right along the margin of the cloud. And I'm going to go ahead and select both the square that I inserted and the cut file, and I'm just going to slice off one of those clouds. I'm going to fill in the top part of my layout with some clouds to help fill the scene and to fill up the layout. And I just wanted to show you how I got those clouds using Cricut Design Space. So I'm just going to trim off what's remaining of the rainbow that's still attached to that cloud just with some scissors. I'll just fussy cut that right off. I do duplicate the cloud. I actually only wanted to duplicate it once and it duplicated it about 3 or 4 times. So I'm just sizing those, getting them to where I think they're going to be on the layout, and that helps me in sizing the different elements on my layout. And I am going to flip this one horizontal so some of the clouds are facing in the opposite direction. So like I said, super simple, super basic, but I did want to show you how I got these extra clouds for my layout. So I did a lot of the work off camera for this layout. I went ahead and backed all of the elements with pattern paper and I added hand stitching. I'm using an older scrapbook collection. This was definitely a stash busting type layout. I went into my summer stash and found this collection from Fancy Pants. I believe it's called Hello Summer. I think it was their collection from last year. And I pulled it out. I loved the colors. I thought it would be great to go with my photos. So I went ahead and backed the cut file using 12 by 12 pattern papers and also some of the 6 by 6 pattern papers. That rainbow, the top stripe, it does not go all the way across, as you can see, and that was because I used one of the 6 by 6 papers. I wanted to use a paper that had a smaller print because it was such a busy pattern with the flamingos and the palm leaves, but that's not going to be a big deal because I am going to place my photos where there is that open spot on the rainbow. So I auditioned a couple different pattern papers. They were very similar. They just had a little bit different hue to them. One was a little bit darker than the other, and I decided to go ahead and go with the darker pattern paper. I am going to use, I believe they would be called the negative pieces of the clouds. They are the white clouds that I've added to the top of the layout. Those were just some scrap pieces left over when I pulled the cut file off my cutting mat. And I like how it fills in the top part of the layout and adds a little bit more detail to the scene of the layout. So I am going to add some fun foam behind the rainbow, and I do also add it behind the clouds that have the pattern paper, so the actual cut file. And I'm going to just go ahead and glue down those white clouds directly onto the pattern paper. So there's going to be some different heights to the embellishments, which really helps add a lot of depth and dimension. I'm using 4 small photos. They are photos of my son running through the sprinkler, and I actually need to go back and look and see what the dates are on these pictures. I was organizing photos on my hard drive and came across these, and I thought that they were so cute. He was so little. So I went ahead and printed off 4 of them, and I'm going to position them right where you see them, so kind of right along the clouds there. Now I'm going to start going through the die cuts, just trying to figure out how I want to embellish. So while I'm kind of getting things arranged there, I do want to talk a little bit about this cut file. This cut file is actually part of a kit that is available at Cut to You. It comes with a PDF with instructions on how to put together a layout, and also comes with a sketch. So it's a really great reference to use, especially if you're new to scrapbooking or you're new to cut files. It kind of gives you direction on how to put a layout together. Now, my layout is not based off the sketch or based off the instructions. I kind of went a completely different route. And it just goes to show that you definitely can use the cut file in more than one way. I will make sure to link to the cut file in the description box below if you want to head to Cut to You to check out what the example layout looks like, to see if it's something that you would be interested in purchasing. I think it's definitely, like I said, a great resource, especially if you're new to scrapbooking or cut files. It's a great jumping off point and a great way to kind of introduce yourself into scrapbooking, having the sketch and the instructions. All right, so getting back to the layout, I am adding a ton of embellishments and a ton of die cuts. I really wanted to try to use as much of this collection as possible. I've been really liking going back into my stash and kind of digging through my stash. I'm trying not to purchase as much scrapbooking product until I use up some of my scrapbooking product. Now, I do have quite a few kits coming in for Project Life, but as far as scrapbook product goes, it's been a little while since I've purchased anything. So it's been a lot of fun to kind of go back through my stash and see what I still have available to use. And I don't think I used this collection at all last year. I thought it was so beautiful and I purchased it, but it never actually made it onto a layout. So I was happy to get a chance to use a bunch of these products. Now I am creating quite a few embellishment clusters. I'm going to go ahead and start gluing some stuff down here, and I'm just lifting up the cut file and kind of lifting up those die cuts too, just adding a little bit of liquid adhesive under them because I didn't want to pull everything off the page because I knew I'd never get it back exactly where I had it. So I'm creating, like I said, just a few different clusters. I have a cluster around each of the photos and then also kind of going along the top edge of that rainbow on the left hand side. And I'm being very particular about what colors I'm using, and I'm using, as you can see, all the colors of the rainbow. But when I say I'm being particular, I'm watching what colors I have in what areas. So I want to make sure that I include all of the colors in each cluster, just so that way it creates a visual triangle so your eye can jump around. Now, as I was going through my stash, I came across a couple other things. These epoxy stickers and then also those small puffy stickers. I have no idea how long I've had these, and I can't see the label as of right now, but I think I purchased them at a local scrapbook store, and I haven't been to a local scrapbook store in years. So it's definitely been in my stash for a while. But I liked that the colors matched this Fancy Pants collection, so I went ahead and added those. I am trying to be cautious of the textures that I'm adding. I do like to add the same texture to each cluster, so I'm trying to add puffy stickers to each of those clusters, and then same thing with the epoxy stickers. I pulled that pink small flower off on that right hand side and added another hibiscus because I had hibiscus flowers in all of the other clusters, and I thought that it looked better than that smaller flower that I had in that area. Okay, so now on to the title. I thought that that area right underneath the right-hand cloud was the perfect spot to put the title because the right-hand cloud is a little bit higher than the clouds on the left-hand side. So I went through my stash of alphas. These are super old. I think these were basic gray chipboard alphas. I have had to have these in my stash at least 10 years. But the size was a little bit too big, and I thought that it pulled too much color to that area. So I grabbed these yellow stickers, or yellow alphas from Pink Fresh Studio. But again, I thought that they were just too bright, and your eye kind of went immediately there, and that wasn't what I was really wanting when it came to my title. So then I found this Soak Up the Sun die cut that was included in that Fancy Pants collection, and the size worked really well. It helped fill in that area, and the color matched, obviously, because it was from the same collection. But as I was looking at the layout, I realized I really didn't have a whole lot of yellow going on the cluster that I'm working on right now. So I went through my enamel dot stash and found some yellow enamel dots, and I added them over in that corner. But because I added enamel dots in that corner, I felt like I needed to scatter them around the layout again to help create that visual triangle. So I'm going through the different enamel dots that I have, just trying to find some that match the pattern papers, and I'm going to create 3 clusters of those using 3 different colors, and I'm going to group the colors all together. So I have all of the yellow grouped together, and then all of the aqua grouped together, and all of the turquoise grouped together. And again, it adds that same texture and 3 different areas of the layout, helps your eye dance around, and just, I think it, even though they're not near the photos, I think it helps draw your eye into the photos. I don't mind using smaller photos on my layout. I know that some people prefer that the photos really be the standout object of the layout, and there are many layouts that I make where I feel that way too, but these were just small. It was just a small fun moment, and I didn't mind that they were smaller. I can fit more photos onto a layout if they are printed smaller, and they weren't super great quality. The exposure on them was not great. They didn't print super well either, so I think that they definitely look better smaller versus larger. So here I'm just holding the layout a little bit closer to the camera so you can see it in all of its detail. There are a ton of embellishments on there. There's a ton of areas to look at, and I'm really happy with how this turned out. It's definitely bright and summery, and the cut file really helped bring the layout together. So here are some still shots. If you have any questions about any of the products that I used, if you have any questions about Cricut Design Space, I'm more than happy to try to answer any questions about that software. Or if you have any questions in general, please feel free to leave me a comment below. As always, I appreciate you watching so much. If you liked this video, I do encourage you to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel already, I would love if you did so. I hope you all enjoyed this, and I'll be back again soon. Bye.